Hi guys, this is Mark Hard. Gonna be doing another video for my Brawl porting tutorial. I want to cover 3D-Rip models and just talk about some of the basic issues we get when we import those into 3ds Max, right? And pretty much why we get those kind of problems. Anything you find on this site is going to work for Brawl, okay? And therein lies the problem. A lot of these models that you download are going to have various issues. So I just pretty much randomly downloaded 3 models and I just looked at them, and I just want to review them now to show you guys the problems I encountered and how to fix those if you encounter those same problems. All right. So let's just begin. Where's that folder? Okay, yeah, here's this folder here. I downloaded 3 models by random. This one here, I just want to note that the uploader uploaded a DAE file and an SMD file. The problems that can arise with these 2 formats is SMD is plugin specific, especially for 3ds Max. With every version of 3ds Max, your plugins become obsolete. So if you have like the newest version of 3ds Max 2013, there doesn't exist a plugin to import an SMD file. So the format this guy just uploaded in, it's useless to you. Okay, you need to get like Blender or something else, or a downgrade on 3ds Max just to import that model. But thankfully, he also included a DAE file. Okay, because of that, we have a little more flexibility. I'm just going to show you guys this other site. This is the Autodesk site, of course. They offer an FBX plugin for their various versions of 3ds Max. Okay, FBX just recently added in DAE support, which is Kaleida, so FBX will do DAE as well. Okay, but this is only for the new versions, of course, the new versions of 3ds Max. Of course, they're aware of that, and their solution is a standalone converter. Basically, it's a program separate from 3ds Max, and it'll convert your DAEs to FBX and FBX to DAE. And of course, FBX is natively supported in all versions of 3ds Max. So regardless of what plugin, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you use a standalone program, you'll easily be able to get an FBX file that will work in any version of 3ds Max. All right. So I encourage you to download that if you're having issues importing DAE files. Anyway, other than that, the images are PNG. Just be aware that some images or textures may be given to you in a wacky format. 2 formats you'll see common to the scene is .dds and .tga. DDS is very common to PC games and Xbox 360 games. Actually, all the new generation games pretty much use DDS. TGA, it's kind of rare, but it's out there. It's just as popular. Both of these kind of need plugins. DDS for 3ds Max, you definitely need a plugin for that. TGA, I can't remember, but it probably does as well. If you're looking for a plugin, go over to wonderboy.org. Not only does this guy offer you an SMD plugin for, says here 2012 and other versions of 3ds Max, he also does supply, I believe, DDS plugins as well. Somewhere, I could be wrong. Otherwise, just go on Google and type in 3ds Max DDS plugin, and it'll pop up. I'm not sure if the new version of 3ds Max supports it or not. But anyway, it's just PNG, so we're cool. I'm going to import this DIE right now and talk about some of the model issues. Alright, so I'm just going to switch over to 3ds Max. Okay, I'm just going to import that model now. As I was saying, the new versions of FBX will handle DIE, so I'm just going to import it with my FBX importer. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna notice right now is these little boxes everywhere on the model or on the sub objects. Basically, those are just showing you guys that you have keyframes or animations on those objects. I'm just gonna get rid of them because they're kind of annoying. Press Control A on your keyboard. That'll select everything. Underneath the animation slider, you'll see the keys highlighted in blue or green. I'm just gonna highlight these again, right-click, and delete them, and then that'll get rid of those boxes. The second issue is obviously she's very bright white, right? There's 2 possible reasons that could cause that. Either it's the environment settings or the actual material on the mesh or the model itself. So to test the environment, that's super easy. You just create another object like a box, and if the box is white, then you would know it's your environment. Obviously, the box is not white. But if you want to check your environment settings, just go to rendering and go to environment. Otherwise, press 8 on the keyboard. Right. So in this box here, you can control the various scene settings. For example, tint, will tint your model a different color. Okay, so you can make it white and black. The level will kind of control the exposure. So if the exposure is really high, of course, the model is going to be white. And the ambient, that's hard to describe. You just play around, you understand, get a feel for what it does. Okay, but obviously there's nothing going on with the environment settings right now, so we're just going to check the materials. So go into your material editor. That's M on the keyboard. Okay. Again, if you guys got the slate editor up, you can switch the modes by going to modes and going to the compact editor. All right. So we can just use the eyedropper, and we're just going to click on our mesh, and it'll pop up the materials. Okay. Because our mesh is combined into a single object, we have what's called sub-materials. So the standard materials are actually inside this material called the multi-material. Right. So I can just go on one of these material slots and check out my material. Right away you can see the specular is super high. If I bring it down, you'll notice that the materials will look less bright, and actually it'll correct the whole issue there. Another problem you can get is where you have high illumination. So the self-illumination either has a color on it or it's like up to 100. That kind of prevents shadow from coming around the object. Okay, so just watch out for that. Specular wise, you usually want something around 20 to 10, nothing up to 100 or whatever, because that'll cause a over bright issue. I'm just gonna leave it at 10 for now. I also want to show you guys a really quick max scripting trick here. Using max script, you can do. You want to save changes? No. Using max script, you can do a lot of cool stuff to speed up some operations. For example, what if you wanted to change the specular level on all your materials? But for example, what if you had 50 of these submaterials? To go through every single one is just, it's not logical. You can use max script to do this automatically for you. I'll just show you a quick demonstration. If you bring up the max script listener, and if you go to macro recorder, if this thing is enabled, it will show you every scripting command you do in 3ds Max. So for example, if I go into one of these slots and I change specular up, you notice up in the listener it says edit materials, material list 2, specular level 31, which is what I input. To break this thing down, it's saying in the material editor, in material slot 2, you change specular to 31. So we can automate this into what we call a loop. A loop will go through every object you have and execute a certain command. So we can bring this into max script here. So to bring that up, you would go to max script and go to new, and the editor should pop up. All right, and I already wrote an example of what it would look like. Basically, the $sign represents the selection you have. So whatever is selected is what you're going to access. Material is the material of the object. All right, we have a submaterial. If I access count, it's to access how many objects or elements are in my material. So I get a count off of that, which I need to use for my loop. So I create a loop here for blah 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 to count do. So basically it's saying for variable whatever equals 1 to my count. So 1 to the count do loop so many times. So this one's only got 4, so loop 4 times. Alright, and x acts as a variable to that number, so it'll increment with every loop. It'll say x equals 1, x equals 2, 3, 4. So we can sub in the x in this line here, and we can run a command. So for example, if I take specular here, and I paste it here, okay, I'm basically saying access my material, access the slot in my submaterial, and then access that particular data and enter in this data. Okay, so anything in the brace will get looped over, right? So you notice if I execute this command by going to Tools, and going to Evaluate All, the hotkey for that is Control E. Okay, and you can notice that it went through all the materials and basically flushed them out. Okay, vice versa, if I make this like 100 or like 99.9 and I execute it, it goes white. Okay, so that's max script. It can do a lot of work for you once you understand how to use it. Anyway, I thought I'd just show you guys that in case you do have a material issue. It's super easy. You just bring up the listener, grab a command, and just loop through your materials. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to the other issues. Other than that, the only thing I notice is the smoothing issue. You can see something on the tail there. It's very jaggedy, very sharp, and then also you see some kind of texture issue going on here where you have like these triangles everywhere, which is kind of messed up, right? I don't know if you know, but 3ds Max tends to force on double-sided polygons. Let me just illustrate that for a sec. In 3D, when you draw a polygon, it gets a surface on one side, and light is only supposed to bounce off that surface. All right. If you flip that surface over, there's no surface; it doesn't exist. So light passes through it. So technically, if you draw a face in 3ds Max, and you turn it over, you should see right through it. It should be invisible. Light should be able to pass through it. Okay. When you draw a surface, it's a single surface. It's not a double surface. All right. So in 3ds Max, the newer versions of 3ds Max anyway, they force on double-sided polygons to fool you, which I find really stupid because it's not natural. In all 3D applications, you don't have double-sided polygons like that. Like, why are they forcing that on? Anyway, to disable that, right-click on your object. Okay, toggle on by object, and then toggle on backface cull. Okay, and then hit OK. If you notice now, when I turn over that polygon, I can see through it, which is the proper way. You're only supposed to see one surface, not behind it. So you can still use it. So that same principle would apply to obviously any 3D object. So right click on this model here, go to object properties, okay, change the object, tick on backface cull. Alright, now check this out. The tail now no longer has that Swiss cheese kind of issue where the materials were overlapping with each other. Basically, there's two mesh objects here, the inside of the tail and outside of the tail. Those polygons share the exact same space, okay, and if they exist at the exact same time, the rendering engine doesn't know what to show at that time. So it's trying to show both at the same time, and that's why you get the Swiss cheese issue there, where it's showing a face from behind, a face from in front, because those two polygons that are sharing the two spaces are now like quadrupled after 3ds Max forces on double sides. So that's the kind of issue we get. All right, that's one problem. Okay, that's aesthetic. Okay, that really doesn't have much to do with the exporting. Once you get into Brawl, you won't have that problem because Brawl won't be using forced on double sides. However, you can force on double sides in Brawl. Okay, we'll cover that later on. Other than that, obviously we want to deal with the smoothing issue. To illustrate that, we want to turn on smooth shade rather than textures. I'm just going to save this scene first. Now when it's saved, you can go to View, go to Show Materials in Viewport As, and instead of going to Standard Display with Maps, you would just go to Standard Display. When you move anything in the viewport, it'll update, and you should have a straight shade. The materials are messed up. They don't have a white diffuse. Okay, it's just black. So that's why the object looks black. We'll just call it the Max script again. This time I'm going to access the diffuse color. Diffuse equals color blah blah blah, and this should be gray. So I'm just going to hit execute all. Good. Alright, so that just changed it to gray, right? Anyway. So now we have it on smooth shade, we can get a better look at our model. You can notice pretty much that everything on the model is shaded well, except for just that tail thing. Alright. When you go to your Modify tab, you can go under Editable Mesh and access either element mode or polygon mode, and that'll allow you to access or highlight polygons, of course. Okay. What I'm going to do, because this is a single mesh right now, I'm going to highlight elements and I'm going to hide them. So if you scroll up here, you can actually hide sub-objects or elements in your model, alright, which is handy. Okay, so I'm just going to hide all these things, and I'm going to smooth out that that area. Alright, so I'm just gonna press Control A, okay, and I can do this in polygon mode or element mode, but I'm gonna scroll down to smoothing groups, and if this had a smoothing group assigned to it, you would see these things plugged in or pressed in. Obviously, it doesn't have anything assigned to it, so I'm going to assign a smoothing group of 1. Okay, you can see what happened here. The polygons are like white and black, the surface is not smooth. What happened is there's polygons sharing the same space, right? Now 3ds Max is trying to smooth that for you, but it gets confused. So it doesn't know which way to smooth, left or right, front and back, whatever, and your smoothing gets really messed up after it's tried to recalculate the normals. So the only way to fix this is to separate the two polygons sharing the two space. There's two ways to do this, of course. You can use an automated process or manual process, okay? Because this object has two sides to it, and one side is important. One side is colored with a different texture, and the outside is colored with a different texture. You can't use an automated process because an automated process won't know which to grab. Same kind of problem that 3ds Max is having right now. It doesn't know how to smooth. So if you use an automated process, it's not going to know how to fix your problem for you. So in some respects, using an automated method is okay, and some situations it's not. All right. So I'm going to show you how to do this manually, and I'm going to show you how to do it automatically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable this for a sec. I'm going to make a copy of this mesh here, and I'm going to show you the difference between automatic and manual. So first, let's do automatic. I'm going to add a STL check on it, turn on double faces, turn off materials, and check the check button. Okay, so found double-sided polygons, of course. Right. You want to download a script called DDF. Okay, here's the website here. You come into the script spot and you can download delete double faces. The downloads here, you can download it here for version 5 and up. Okay, you can bring this into let's go here. Okay, you're gonna have to modify this script though. Just go into new script and go to open, of course. Okay, what you want to do is just delete this first line here that says macro script and the second line underneath it, which is a brace. So you're going to delete the first and second line, scroll down, and delete the last bracket there, or brace. Okay, now hit evaluate all, and it'll pop up. Okay, so this is the delete double faces script. It'll basically go through your model and delete any double faces it finds based on what the STL check found. So what you have to do right now, after the check here, you're just going to turn on either extract or delete. So I'm just going to select delete for now. Hit selected meshes here when you have a mesh selected that you want to run the process on. Okay. Alright, so that's the automatic method. You can see that it's virtually deleted the other side, the polygons, but it's left a Swiss cheese thing again where my polygons are actually missing. You can see that they're inverted, of course. And to get that flipped back out to one side instead of being Swiss cheese like that, you just add another modifier. Okay, you can just add a edit mesh modifier. Go to polygons, of course. Select everything, so Control A. Scroll down to unify, and then just press unify. Alright, and that will try to force all the polygons onto one side. Okay, but you can see that because the automated process didn't know what to delete, we have the backside texture and the front side texture now kind of mixed with each other. Okay, it is no longer double sided; it's all one single side polygons now, but it grabbed and deleted the wrong ones. Okay, so that's the automated process. So where would this thing apply? Well, if you have a mesh that has a texture, if you have a mesh that's double-sided and the texture on both sides is the same, it doesn't matter if you delete one side or the other, it's the same texture, so you're not losing anything. So you can go ahead and do that. But in either case, if you use an automated process on two polygons where each polygon has unique texture, then you do not want to use an automated process, obviously. You'll get a problem like this. Okay. Alright, so to avoid this issue, you would do this in a manual method. The manual method is obviously more tedious, but it basically works as you go into polygon mode, you turn on backface culling, you turn on ignore back facing, and you select the polygons pretty much one by one. Obviously, you don't want to do that. You want to select as much as you can with your cursor or your lasso, right? So with ignore back facing, it'll only select one side. So if you turn it over, you can notice that I've only selected one side. Alright, so now if I go back down here to my smoothing groups, I can turn it off smoothing group 1 and enable it on smoothing group 2. Okay, I'll repeat this for the other side as well. Alright, off for 1 and back on 2. So I'll just turn on smooth shade again. And now you can see that the issue is pretty much repaired. And we've preserved the textures on either side of the mesh. Alright, so we've preserved the textures and we've also repaired the issue. However, using the automated method, that wasn't the case. Okay, so both these techniques will fix that problem, but you have to know when to use which one. Alright, obviously you want to use the automated one where possible. Okay, alright, so I think that's it for this model. I didn't see any other problems with it. It's a pretty nice model. Okay, not many issues with it. I think that's pretty much it. Let's move on to the next model. I'm going to reset this. Okay, I'm just going to leap over this law model and go to this this little critter here. Okay, so first off, you notice that he's like on his side or whatever, right? What we can do is just select everything. Again, Control A. Go to your rotation tool. If you rotate, he's going to rotate from his center, obviously. You see where the gizmo is? That's the rotation pivot. If you go down to pivot, you can left click and hold to change the pivot. If you go down the bottom one, it'll be the center of the grid. So if I rotate now, he'll be rotating from the center of the grid, and that's what you want to do. All right. Also, you have to rotate it, obviously, a 90-degree angle. You can do that by typing in 90 here, or sorry, negative 90. Yeah, you can type negative 90 here, okay? Or you can just turn on rotation snap. So let me just go back. This is snap here for angles. If you right-click, you can change the angle snap on it. So you would change degrees to 90 degrees. All right, then you close this guy. Turn on angle snap. Now when you rotate, he'll snap in increments of 90. Okay, this is nice when you have to rotate the model in a few different directions, like on the y-axis or the z-axis or whatnot. Okay, so that's virtually it. It's pretty simple. Next problem is getting him textured, right? So we're going to save another file here. All right, go to View, Show Materials, and Viewport as Maps. Okay, nothing showed up. What the heck, right? You're going to go into your material editor. Okay, again, use the eyedropper. Click. Okay, here's his material. Great. Now go into the diffuse and check out his actual material. If you notice that there's no material here, it just says none. So he's missing a material. Alright, so what's supposed to be here? Body texture, right? Let's click on a body texture. Oh no, what happened? He's pink. Why is he pink? Okay, let's go into wireframe mode. Oh, what's this going on? We're doubled up. Okay, if you haven't seen this kind of issue before, basically the mesh is made of things. It's got an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer is actually used for a trick called toon shading. Right? First thing we're going to do is, again, turn off that stupid double-sided polygons that 3ds Max forces on. Again, object, turn on backface cull. Oh no, it still looks stupid. What's going on? Okay, someone who uploaded the model didn't do it right. What we have to do is invert this layer, okay, because this is actually an outline layer used for making cell shaded models. We're just going to flip this, okay, and now you can see that it looks like an outline for the model. Okay, so that's the whole basis of that, right? You wouldn't really know what it is unless you've experienced or worked with these kind of models before. That's basically what that layer was for. This layer is not supposed to actually have a texture on it. It's supposed to be straight up black. Okay, so you get the idea. So the layer underneath that is the actual model. So let's check out its textures. Wow, it's all black. Alright, let's go to textures. So I'm supposed to use a boblin something TGA. Well, let's see here. Where's the TGAs? So the guy didn't supply us with. The guy didn't send us TGAs. He sent us PNGs. What the heck? What we have to do is now find the proper texture. So let's go to PNG and go to boblin. Oh no, what's going on? He looks all like retarded and stuff. Yeah, well the texture's kind of messed up. Let's look at the texture. Yeah, it's only that one or that one. Let's see if it's this one. No. See if it's that one. No. Maybe that one. No. There's only different types of textures here. An eye and a main body texture. What's going on? What we can do to check this out is to actually look at the UVs of the mesh. If you go to modifiers, you can add a UVW or actually unwrap UVW modifier. Okay, go to edit and it'll show you the UVs of the mesh. Okay, if you guys don't know what UVs are, basically they wrap a texture around a model. So if I change this 2D representation of the texture wrap, it'll change how the texture wraps on the mesh object, obviously. All right. Here. If I click here, I can actually preview the diffuse texture that I applied to it. And you can see that the texture kind of goes kind of like this tail up here with some round things. If you notice, the layout is actually like upside down. So if I flip this on the y-axis, notice that now fits the texture a bit better, and actually the model is corrected. All right. So that I just did this to show you guys visually the problem we had. So let me just undo. Okay, this is actually a common issue. It's called flip textures or flip UVs. It's actually very common. All right, to fix this problem, you're not going to use this modifier. Delete that. Go back down to here and add a UVW X form. This way, you just have a toggle on it. Right, you either flip on U or V, which represents the X or the Y. So obviously, I tick on V, and the textures are pretty much repaired. Okay, and you have to obviously repeat this modifier to the entire mesh. Okay, and that's another problem you'll get. Okay, so commonly you'll see that materials or textures are assigned wrong or they are flipped. All right, and that's just how it is. And you have to get used to using the material editor to inspect the materials, and also use the unwrap UVW to inspect the UVs. Okay, get used to using UVs. That's very important. Don't let that get by you.